Alright, welcome to Texas. Just a Minnesota boy down here for work, doing his first Texas storm chase. We got a slight risk here. I'm just out of Austin, about 20 miles east, in Elgin, Texas, trying to decide my next move. We got little pop-up showers trying to get going all around me. There's a watch box posted north of me, about 50 miles. So it's early, but I'm trying to get on the early convection here. Will probably be the greatest tornado risk, which they've actually downgraded from 5% to 2% for my area. So that's a little discouraging. Got a secondary front coming through later on this evening, a big cold front, dry line pushing through the rest of the state. So that'll be the ignition for additional storms and a line closer to dark at sunset. So right now, we got all kinds of little convective pop-up areas all around me. I'm just kind of waiting for one to root before I start driving all over the place. I do want to show you my chase vehicle for today. A brand new Ford Expedition. Picked it up at the airport on Tuesday with 5.5 miles on it. So nothing like storm chasing in a $70,000 vehicle. There's some of the convective type activity going on off to my southeast there. Wind's right into my face, so a nice southeast wind. So yeah, all around there's little convective areas of instability. Nothing's really rooted down here yet though. So I'm gonna keep watching radar, see if one starts to look better than the rest, then I'll start heading off. Cell over there, you can see the base on it. Doesn't even really show up on radar yet though. So I'm shooting north yet. Try to intersect those storms that are on the west side of 35 by Waco, Tempo somewhere. It's 82 degrees. It just rained here, so probably cooled off a bit. It's been 85 most of the day. Pretty humid. I think these storms will get going here as the afternoon progresses. The problem with coming out with too much free time is you get antsy and start making decisions instead of just sitting and waiting. That's what I'm doing now. Eye on this one to the left here. Got the base. Maybe a little inflow on the left there. Keep moving north. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm on a road here. It's on Google Maps. Little shortcut. I want to get a better look at the cell that I was just recording. Wasn't quite expecting this road. I wasn't sure I was going to turn, but a semi barreling behind me doing 70, and I had oncoming traffic, so I had a window to
in 1,000 feet,
get over.
Turn right onto Farm to Market Road 1712.
Alright, I finally committed to the big storm that's been going all afternoon up by Waco. I'm just coming into Temple right now. The storm is north of me. I'm going to come in from the south side, is my plan. The roads aren't exactly like Minnesota here with a pure grid system, so might get a little adventurous, but that's kind of my plan. I should be on the storm within 30 minutes, I would think, so finally feeling like a storm chase a little bit. Seeing some darker skies. Our storm right here is tornado warned. just off to our north. I'm not sure what my plan is here. I was hoping to be in Texas, chasing out in the middle of nowhere. Open roads, open fields, and here I'm basically in the city in rush hour. It's 4:30, tons of traffic, not a great road system. So we're on the south side of the storm. We're gonna keep sneaking around the bottom of it here. At this point, I wasn't sure what my next move was, and this is where chasing alone can be challenging. You're keeping an eye on traffic, you're trying to follow a map, you're looking at radar, watching the storm, and trying to run a camera. As I drove up this hill, it was an airport to my right, so that was taking up quite a bit of real estate. The storm was moving west to east as I was heading north into it, so I had to eventually start moving east again. I had the airport as well as 35 to navigate to get back to the other side of 35, and it was clear looking at the velocity scan why this storm was tornado warned. There was definite rotation showing up, so I did want to proceed with caution. So I had to figure out how to get back east around the airport, around 35, not drive exactly into the rotation, but keep a good eye on the storm. Alright, here's our tornado warned storm. Nice hilltop here. Lucky me, I get stuck behind a fifth wheel. The rotation, based on the velocity radar, is right ahead of us. It's amazing down here. There's just no cross streets. You get on these main thoroughfares and you're just stuck going. There's nowhere to pull off. Right there you can see I'm the blue dot, if that's focusing. I don't know if it is. Not seen a base yet or a meso. Might be off to my right. So at this point, I've been twisting and turning around all these backcountry neighborhood roads, trying to keep up with the storm and figure out my next move with the road system. This was probably the most interesting look at the storm I got, and even this really isn't much of anything. Shortly after this, I was into heavy precip and wind.
North I-35 frontage road.
As I was trying to keep up with the storm that was slowly moving east and a little bit to the south, I continued to move east and got into heavy rain and winds from the north here. And I'll be honest, I got a little uncomfortable and I knew south was my way out. I don't think I was really in any type of danger, but I figured it was better to be sorry, so took a quick right, headed south. I was now just in a high-precip mess. I had to reevaluate, make a plan to get back out ahead of the storm and to clear air.
Turn left onto North General.
Alright, there's our storm over there. We spent a lot of time driving around in it. We were up in the rotation a little bit, I think. I got a little uneasy and had to run south, get out of it, but now we're repositioning to get back in front of this storm. There's our storm back here. We're jogging southeast to get back out in front of it. It is still tornado warned. I'd like to get some pictures. Spent the whole time driving around it and see what this cell looks like. Buy myself some breathing room here and then hopefully get a tripod set up.
When it comes to storm chasing, I like to think of myself as a photographer first, and it had killed me I had not even taken a picture yet, driving around for half the afternoon. So I pulled off on this road thinking I was far enough ahead of the storm. But as I tried to position and think about getting a camera out, the rain caught up with me. So off I went again to jump ahead of the storm. I jumped a few miles east and found another back road, and as I came up over this hill, I realized this was my first chance to set up a tripod and shoot a time-lapse. I do like to think of this as a photography channel, so here are the settings that I'm dialing in while I set up the time-lapse. I was shooting a 20mm lens, f5 at a 1/4 second exposure, ISO 100. And it wouldn't be storm chasing a photography if there weren't power lines in the shot.
All right, finally set up my first time lapse of the day. It's just of a kind of a cell moving in. Nothing too impressive, not a lot of bolts. It's been an interesting chase, a lot of driving. I've been up in a lot of traffic in the city. I was up in the tornado warning, got in some rotation, had to dive south. We got the gust front coming in right now. So I'm letting this time lapse wrap up, jump into the expedition, stay ahead of this little cell here. No structure on it or anything. It's kind of linear, a little disappointing. I was hoping for some good Texas structure down here today. But I'm gonna run to get ahead of this thing again before it hits me here.
I set this time lapse up to take a picture every 2 seconds. I was able to get 345 frames before the storm pushed me on to my next spot. Here is the final version. mentioned at the start of the video, a cold front would be sweeping through Texas later in the evening. It was now getting harder to avoid convective areas to take pictures.
Woo, got some wind here.
And again, trying to figure out navigation on these Texas roads near Austin was challenging, as here I was on a road that was dropping straight south, but unbeknownst to me, eventually turned west straight into the storm.
Trying to slip south of this thing, these roads keep winding right back into it. That's the brand new Ford Expedition.
After taking on that hail, most of it was probably dime or quarter size, maybe a couple golf balls mixed in. I saw clear air to the south and made my way that way for my last stand before sunset for a couple more time lapses. Could I maybe get a lucky, well-placed bolt? There it was, the only bolt of the day. And now on to my favorite shot of the day. One of the challenges of storm time-lapse photography is finding that right balance of exposure time, getting enough frames to make a good length time-lapse, as well as staying out of the storm. When there's lightning around, I'll use a longer exposure to give myself a better chance of catching a bolt. But you also want to have your shutter going fairly quickly so you can snap off 200, 250 frames in a relatively quick time. It's all about finding that right balance. Well, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Was it an epic chase today? Not necessarily, but anytime you can get yourself into a tornado warning and take some neat pictures in a state that you've never shot in before, I'm going to call it a success. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and there'll be more storms to come as the season's just getting started. Next storm will be from the upper Midwest in the Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, Wisconsin area. See you then.